All right, we're back at it for round two. Alex, how you feeling this morning? I know it's been a little bit of a rough week for the Steelheads last week, so we're going to talk about that today. But most importantly, what's going on, man? How are you doing this week?
Hey man, I'm feeling good because you know what? Funny enough, something just came in as soon as we started recording. The NHL Central Scouting List came out, so that's something we'll definitely talk about later in the episode. But so that definitely brightened up my day as we have a few Steelheads on that list. But in terms of how are we feeling about the Steelheads? Yeah, they had a pretty rough road trip, but I would say these are the growing pains of this team. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I think, you look at the amount of times that they've played bad in the last couple of seasons. It's nothing like they've seen here. But again, you're still getting used to having your teammates, right? Like they've only played one game before this week, and that was against Kingston. And then before that in the preseason, right? Like you didn't have your full team until the last couple of games of the preseason. So you're still kind of getting used to people gelling. And I think that's what it was, exactly like you said. You know what? Let's get the elephant in the room out. It's October, right? Everybody loves Halloween. The horror movies, like it's your time to watch your favorite horror movies.
It's a scary
this
time.
week felt like the week from hell for the Mississauga Steelheads. It was its own horror movie. And for obvious reasons, I'm not just talking about like the Barrie Colts game, because that was a whole different beast. They actually played a lot better in that game, I thought.
That was honestly a fun hockey game, yeah.
But the game against the North Bay Battalion, man, that got away from them quick.
It did.
I have to say, like the three things that I noticed about that game is North Bay came out guns blazing. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
The Steelheads got caught flat-footed early, and they just let the game get away from them. And the refs didn't really help that either.
Yeah.
The refereeing was not that great either.
It wasn't great. Yeah.
So I mean, when you look at it, they didn't play amazing, but the refs didn't help either.
It didn't help either. Of course, I will say though, in terms of the main cause of their loss, it was severely on them. There were a couple missed calls, a couple calls that, and I think in terms of what we're talking about is that really big Ethan Del Mastro call, right? Was it the game misconduct? Was it something like that or something?
Yeah. So because he drew blood, the rule oftentimes is that if you draw blood, it's either a double minor, or occasionally if it's bad enough, if the refs think it's bad enough, it's 5 in a game. So Ethan Del Mastro ended up getting 5 in a game for that cross check to the head.
That wasn't the greatest call of all time.
I don't think so. A lot of people said that it should have been suspendable. I don't think so. Could it have been avoidable? Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. It could have been, but to say that was worthy of a suspension, that would just contradict the whole ideology of why refs are soft in this league. And let's be real here, they are. They have a zero tolerance policy for the fundamentals of hockey. If it's fighting, if it's finishing checks, so it's weird.
It can be. I'll say this. I mean, look, referees are not perfect.
Oh no referee is perfect,
but they're doing their job, right? Whether it's a good job or a bad job, that's it is what it is, right? But oftentimes you'll see bad calls and you can't help but call them out. I mean, like there were a couple of missed calls I thought on both ends in that North Bay game. But I think that the main reason wasn't only because of the referees. Like, toss the refs aside. There were a lot more reasons why the Steelheads lost. I mean, they complete defensive breakdown through that entire game. There was almost, for a team that was looking to be the best defensive team they've had in years, they didn't show it that game. And again, that it all comes with, like, look, you can't really blame them though, because a lot of these kids are in school, right? It's October, it's coming around, like they're going to do their midterms and things like that for the first semester. They're tired. A lot of them are tired, and that's, should that be an excuse? No, not really. But
it's not an excuse.
Some of these, it's hard to play on a Friday night after you've just finished a full week of school. You haven't gotten a whole lot of rest because there's a lot of assignments and things like that, right? So that could be part of the reason. But again, I felt like I said from the get-go, North Bay came out guns blazing. They were ready to play, and they just caught the Steelheads flat-footed in that first game. And that's why the score got the way that it did. It was a 7-1 final score. James Hardy scoring the only goal for the Steelheads. He's on fire. 3 goals in 3 games.
Gotta love James Hardy. if there's something I can say in terms of why I personally think North Bay won that game the way they did, because North Bay and Mississauga are very similar, and I've talked to you about this before off camera, man. They're very similar because they both have this very young, talented crop of rookies going into this year, right? For Mississauga, it's Owen Beck, it's Zach Lavoie, it's Xander Vecchia, it's Carson Christie. For North Bay, it's Ty Nelson, Dallin Wakely, Nick Sema, Owen Outwater. And I think in terms of this game, I just think the rookies landed on their feet more for North Bay. And in terms of and the funny thing is that it's because this was a very low scoring game. The Barrie game, we didn't score any goals at all. And I just think like I said, I just think that's the growing pains right there. And I say that because of the fact that experience is key right here. Because personally, I genuinely think that, well, again, Luke Misa did not play in any of those games. So maybe he's injured because he did take that rough hit in Kingston just over a week and a half ago. Maybe he's injured. He's dealing with an injury because I don't genuinely understand the idea of not playing Luke Misa in your lineup every game. So I would hope that I hope he's not injured, but I would hope there's a genuine reason for him to be out of the lineup. Yeah. Zach Lavoie didn't play the second game in that back-to-back in Barrie, which I don't necessarily like the idea of because listen, these are guys who came from the GTHL, who came from good minor league programs where they've played in weekend tournaments where they play multiple games a day. So I think the idea of not being able to play in a back-to-back, especially when it is a commonality in the at the professional level and beyond. I don't know why he wasn't played, man. Maybe he was injured, maybe he was banged up. I don't know. But I will say though, North Bay's rookies hit hard. They were a bit more ready, and I think they were a bit more steady in that game because Owen Beck can score. Xander Vecchia can score, but they didn't. And I will say though, and this has also been something common with the Steelheads, they always have a crap ton more shots in the game than their opponents, because against North Bay, where they lose 7-1, Mississauga had 43 shots to North Bay's 21.
Yeah.
And you can't get a goal on that. I'm really genuinely surprised by that because they're taking shots.
It's like we were saying last time, they need to just finish their shots, like create good opportunities that are not complete, that are not incomplete, as I should say. And it's chances like those that you're going to score on, absolutely. But I don't know. I mean, once again, am I blaming the Steelheads for these losses this week? No, not necessarily. But you've got to play when you're playing a team like North Bay. They have a lot of really hungry players. They have returning veterans, Joe Verbedich and Brandon Coe. You got Dallin Wakely, Ty Nelson. Like, you've got so many rookies that are hungry and want to score in this league. You got to come out with fighting. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason why you should just sit back, right? But again, I get it because a lot of the guys maybe sometimes are tired from the week, right?
Sure.
And that's what puts them at a little bit of a disadvantage for the upcoming week because they're playing 3 games in a row back to back to back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means that either Joe Ranger or Roman Basserin is going to get 2 out of 3 starts. And that's going to be really tough. I'm not expecting them to win out the whole weekend, but if they can, that would be great.
That's incredible. That would absolutely be incredible if they can sweep their opponents this upcoming weekend.
Yeah. And I think the thing is, again, this week, I'm not going to fault them for losing both games. I mean, that first one, I don't know.
That was their fault. Really... The defense did not show up in that game.
Yeah.
The defense did not show up in that game.
The only thing that I can really say about that is like, hey, listen, it's a loss. You can learn from it, or you can let it drag you down.
Absolutely.
And clearly, what they did was they didn't let them drag it down because the next game, the game the next night against Barrie, it was almost like they were just the complete opposite team.
It was a great.
They came back and they were just like, they played with discipline, they played with heart, they wanted to win. It was just that last goal in the third period from, I think it was Evan Vierling. It was Evan Vierling.
It was Evan Vierling, who would then go on to score an empty netter because they pulled the goalie immediately right after, which is understandable.
Yeah.
But listen, and for the record, many people say Barrie are the top contenders for the Central Division, right? So if the Steelheads are able to contest the way they did, going scoreless 0-0 into the last minute and a half of the third period, while they're tired, right? Without Luke Nisa, without Zachary Lavoie, while they're tired after losing a really bad game. That's absolutely encourageable. That right there is a big sign of encouragement right there, knowing that they can battle through that kind of adversity and really sustain a good amount of play throughout a full game. Because especially in the North Bay game, and we saw it in the preseason, their consistency in terms of nailing down their games has been pretty off. Of course, it was the preseason. They're still gelling together. There's other factors for why they were off. But, them sustaining a full game's worth of good quality defense has been a question in terms of their play. So to see how they played in Barrie was incredibly encouraging. And another thing about the Barrie game that was really encouraging me, Roman Bazarin was absolutely incredible in that game. He was incredible. I will say, though, he did face 19 shots, but he was stellar for those 19 shots, except for that one goal. So technically 18 shots. But no, that was a very encouraging performance by Roman Bazarin. And again, in that game, Steelheads had 33 shots, no goals, to Barrie's 19. Listen, if that doesn't tell you something, that was Mississauga's game to win in that.
Like they're getting great shots. Like the shots are there.
They need it. The shots are there. The offensive production, technically, in terms of being able to capitalize on chances on net, is there. They just need to actually put the puck in the back of the net.
Yeah, it's just about getting good scoring chances, right? And I mean, hey, it's tough sometimes, especially when you're facing goalies like this. I mean, the Barrie's goalie, Matteo Lalema, he's not that bad of a goalie. Like
what an OHL debut.
He's solid. He's solid.
33 save shutout. Yeah, that was a great performance by him.
When you're facing a guy like him, and I think again, that's another reason why the Steelheads had a little bit of a tough week, because you're facing Joe Verbedich, who's greatly improved. I am very impressed by him.
No,
you're facing this guy from Barrie, this kid who's coming in, and those are tough goalies. I mean, they're tough goalies, but I mean, at the end of the day, you just got to find those scoring chances to work. And I mean, it's not a hard thing to do once you really just kind of find the sweet spot. You can work that out in practice, I think, too. But this team, I think, is capable of a lot of great things. And I think coming up, it's home opening weekend.
Yep.
It's going to be a fun one, to say the least. I know that you and I are going to be at the game on Friday night, probably Sunday afternoon as well.
We will be. Yeah.
It's going to be fun. And I mean, you're going up against the Ottawa 67s. And by the way, I think Chris Barlas is actually back in the lineup.
If he is back in the lineup, our buddy Chris Barlas, we interviewed for our OHL draft profile interview we did with him. You can check it out on our YouTube channel and wherever you find your podcasts. Great guy. So that'd be hilarious to play him, because I know he's been out with an injury for a bit, so he hasn't made his OHL debut yet. But if he can make his debut in Saga, that'd be really fun to see him play as well. But of course, and Adam Varga. How would you describe Adam Varga?
Varga's a good player. He's a guy you wouldn't expect to have on your first line.
No.
But I mean, hey, at the end of the day, you got to work with what you got, right? And I think that Ottawa, that's what they're trying to do. Do I see them winning the J. Ross Robertson Cup? Absolutely not.
I don't see them.
But yeah, I mean, hey, they're doing the best that they can, right? And I think that's going to be one of the things that they have to watch out for too, is when Ottawa gets hungry, when they really want to win something, they are going to defy expectations and they are going to win. So the Steelheads have to be cautious of that, like, because that could be one of their biggest downfalls. It's just like, hey, underestimating Ottawa. They may look like a bad team. That is
true.
But then you get too confident and they come back and they win the game. You know what I mean?
No, that's true. And you know what? I'm looking at their record. I take that back to any Ottawa fan or player who ever hears this. My sincerest apologies. They're 3-2 after over 5 games. My only thing though is just in terms of their overall actual point consistency. That's the thing, right? Because they don't have that big stellar player, because the last time we saw them play, that was when they had that's when they had, at least I personally feel they had the best team in all.
Noel Hoffenmeyer, Ty Felleber. Oh yeah, like they had a bunch of names on that team.
Exactly. Now, yeah, so And funny enough, their best player, Jack Beck, he's a really good player, sixth round pick by Calgary. He's 5 goals, 3 assists in 5 games. So he's going to be a guy to look out for, and he's a left winger. So he'll be a guy to definitely shut down if I'm the Steelheads. But besides that, though, they don't have a real bona fide goal scorer. He's their guy, right? So in terms of so that's why I say Ottawa's not. I don't think Ottawa is favorable to win this game on Friday night, because in terms of their goal scoring, they have relied on mainly one guy to get the goals. Adam Varga, 4 points in 5 games. Are you serious? Wow.
I mean, hey, like I said, he's someone you wouldn't expect to be on your first line, but I mean, hey, he seems to be making it work. So I mean,
absolutely, man. Because
I mean, hey, it helps when you have Dave Cameron as your head coach, who's had NHL experience.
He's a great.
But then again, I mean, hey, like I said, I'm not expecting them to win the whole league, because I mean, I'm going to be honest, they don't have the team to win the whole league, but it helps when you have small things like that.
Oh, absolutely.
So that is a little bit of an interesting game going into this weekend. We're facing another couple of division rivals as well in the Niagara Ice Dogs, and an Eastern Conference rival in the Hamilton Bulldogs. Battle of the QEW, am I right?
Uh-huh.
So it's going to be interesting, to say the very least. I think that the game against Hamilton is going to be a little bit challenging. I mean, both games.
They're 4-0. They're 4-0. Tyler, Hamilton's perfect this season. They're 4-0.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm surprised they are. So
for sure. It's going to be.
And they have Jorian Donovan too, great defenseman. So yeah,
exactly. And it's not going to be an easy task against Niagara either. I mean, you look at Tucker Tynan and like Isaac Enright, you have so many players on that team as well that are going to be really tough to face. But no biasness here, I think they can do it. They can do it, because if this team learned anything from last week, they're going to want to come out fighting. They're going to want to be ready. And I know that this team is capable of great things. We've seen it before. We'll see it again. It's going to be a fun weekend.
It should be a fun weekend.
So like I said, the last time in the last episode, if you don't have any plans for Friday night or Sunday afternoon,
go to the game.
Come on down. I mean, hey, we're going to be there. We're going to be probably talking to the players at some point.
We'll be doing that.
So it's going to be a really fun home opening weekend. And I think, honestly, Alex projected the amount of people that have commented on their social media and have really retweeted their stuff.
Yeah, it's encouraging.
It's really encouraging to see, because you're going to this may be the biggest crowd that we've seen in the last year and a half. And when I say
the only crowd we've seen in the last year and a half.
No, I know, but I mean, the biggest Steelheads crowd that we've seen, maybe even since 1819.
I hope so. I genuinely hope so. I will say though, and I think this is a pretty good segue into this as well.
Yes,
is that there are some talented players on this team who are starting to get the attention of certain NHL scouts, which in my opinion makes going to see them this Friday or anytime during the season very worth it, because
the NHL Central Scouting rankings were just released. I'm going to link that in the description so you can take a look at it when you get the chance.
Absolutely.
But there were a couple of Steelheads on there that, I mean, I was pretty surprised.
4 Steelheads were named.
Exactly. There were 4
Steelheads were named to this list. I will say though,
it's really interesting.
As a follower of the NHL and OHL draft process, besides where the 4 Steelheads are placed, I think this is a pretty bad list. But that's for a totally another day and for a totally another conversation. But Owen Beck gets to start for Mississauga in terms of he's the first Steelhead named, and he's a B rating prospect, which indicates a 2nd or 3rd round candidate player. Wow.
That would be super cool. I think
that is great. But listen, I'm not surprised, man, because
seeing the way that he's played, I am not at all surprised.
Absolutely. He does everything right. He has great skill. He has a really good wrist shot. His defensive game is very good. So I think it's great. I think that's incredible for him that, he's a rookie and he's already getting that kind of look and validation. So I'm really happy for him. Zachary Lavoie is also a B prospect, which makes perfect sense to me. I think his game as a goal scorer could be prolific. Could be is the word. So I think that's perfectly fine. The next one, Luca Del Bel Belluz. Because I didn't realize this. He has a late birthday. He's only now draft eligible.
Yeah,
So
you know what?
that's really fun.
I was a little bit surprised about that when I saw that too, because you would have thought that last year he was, but
But
he
no,
missed the
it wasn't
cutoff
eligible.
date. So I
He
mean,
did
it's
miss the cutoff date. He has a birthday next month in November, so that's why. But honestly, I can definitely see him being a late draft pick in general, just because of how overall stacked this year is.
and I think it's refreshing to see, you know, as a fan of the team and as somebody who's been following them for as long as I can remember,
Mhm.
it's good to see that amount of players on because you never really get to see that every year. You'll have like one or two players, maybe, with the exception of last year. You had, you know, James Hardy, you had Casper Larson on there as well. But I mean, to see 4 players from this team on that list, it's refreshing.
And that fourth player, Xander Vecchia. And I also will say Xander Vecchia and Luca Dababalouz have been given the C rating, which indicates a 4th, 5th, or 6th round candidate, so a late round pick. Xander Vecchia is just a physically bigger Owen Beck to me. That's what I personally believe in. I think he's a better forechecker than Beck. His ceiling is not as good as Beck, I will say, but it's understandable that Beck and Vecchia, because they play very similar games, are on that list. And then Luca Dababalouz, who has improved significantly well. The amount of confidence oozing out of this kid is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's something you didn't see last year. I think that, you know,
it was non-existent. It was non-existent. I will say though, you know, 4th line minutes aren't the greatest thing ever, but you know, it's still OHL time that, you know, scratched guys are not getting, you know, so.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I like to see that because I mean, you look at his first game back, he had 2 goals and he's still continuing to play solid offense, right? So It's good to see. And I mean, I think again, like you said before, the NHL Central Scouting list, like the whole list is no, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, no, it's not great.
It's not great on that yet, but I mean,
in terms of where the Steelhead placements are, I think that's fair. That's fair. I think it's pretty fair. So
yeah, I think it's pretty good that you get to see these guys on there because I mean it's refreshing, like I said. Yep. Which you'll get to see our mock drafts as well. The Pro Shot's going to be uploading our mock drafts throughout the year. We'll do every so often. You're not going to you're going to go on and they're just going to be posted. So don't rip us to shreds quite yet. And you know, it's going to be a really, really fun week coming up. I think that, you know, home opening weekend is always the most fun in my opinion, because, you know, you're back at the arena. We're in the big rink this time instead of the practice rinks.
Thank God.
Man, it's like it feels so weird just being back, and I'm so happy that it's finally like the season's finally here.
Yeah.
So, and you know what? Speaking of the season finally being here, that means that there's a lot of good news, right? We have a couple of big announcements that we're going to share next week, but you want to give them a little bit of a sneak preview?
Yeah. I'm trying to think how to word this. It is big news. You know what? This is what I'll say. We have come into agreement for a sponsorship for Inside the Tank. So yeah, so next week we are going to announce it on all our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and yeah, we're gonna have some fun stuff planned for you guys. Maybe a potential giveaway, who knows? So yeah, so we're really excited to say that.
I know that Alex and I are very excited about it because it's something that, you know, we've never explored before, the possibility of getting sponsorships for the podcast. So it's something that we're very, very well looking forward to. And, you know, it's like Alex said, there may or may not be a little giveaway coming up. So stay tuned for that. We're going to announce that probably the same, around the same time.
Yeah.
So stay tuned to our social medias. You're definitely going to want to follow, because if you don't want to miss anything, then that's the #1 place that you can find out all of our news. Opening weekend. Get your tickets.
Go to the game.
Get your tickets if you haven't already.
Say hi. Just to people. Just ask them how they're doing. You know what? This is a time to come together, be kind, and enjoy some fun hockey here. Okay? Tickets are cheap. They're very cheap. You don't have to sell your kidney for a Maple Leaf game, but you know, they're cheap.
It doesn't take a whole lot of effort. You know what? All you need to do is just buy the tickets, print out the Google Maps thing, because you're probably going to need directions to the arena.
You will need directions to the arena. Yep.
And then you can go and enjoy some great quality hockey for very, very, very great prices. So once again, if you haven't already done so, please go and follow us in our social medias, which will be linked below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave a like on this video, and we will see you in the next time. Thank you very much for listening. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay positive.